Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are zooming in from today. I am so excited to be here and joining you from the fantastic Future Leaders Group, co-presented by the MCA and MetalCon. Today's presenters have changed a little bit. Today we have Lauren Rubino joining us, along with Todd Miller. Todd Miller is coming in from AIA Industries, and Lauren is coming in from Sherwin-Williams. So thank you both for joining us today. Today's session will be on the basics of the metal construction industry, or Construction Industry 101. I'm also very pleased to announce that we do have some additional Future Leaders programming coming up a little later on this year. On August 7th at 1 p.m., please join us for some additional programming, specifically regarding how to maximize your experience at MetalCon and other various trade shows. It's going to be a great presentation. I'm also very excited to announce that we have a few different MetalCon lives announced for June 2024. We have improving the profitability and cash flow in your construction business, and that's being presented by Shelby Ashley, and that's coming up on June 5th, again at 1 p.m. And then we also have the state of the metal building and erecting industry. That's going to be presented by Robert or Bobby Mesmer and Heidi Ellsworth. So that is going to be presented by Roofers Coffee Shop. We're so excited to be partnering with them again this year. As you all know, MetalCon registration is open, and we highly encourage you, book your registrations now. This is some of our best pricing you can get. We also have our hotel discounts available right now. Make sure you book with Globetrotter, the only official partner of MetalCon. And we also have discounts on your hotels. Those are still available now as well. MetalCon, as I just said, is coming up in just a few short months. We are less than 6 months away from MetalCon. I can't believe it. I'm sure you guys can't either. And I hope you will be joining us, since registration is now open and early bird pricing is in effect right now. So make sure you get those registrations in right now and make sure you get the best pricing you can. As always, we do have a very brief survey at the very end of the session, and that is just so you can receive your certificates of attendance. Those certificates simply require first name, last name, and email address. We can get that information to you. Today's course is AIA approved, and we'll be processing all of that in the next week or so. If you are going to be joining us virtually, please just fill in that form as well. We'll make sure you get your credits too. If anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to submit any questions, comments, or concerns in the chat box or in the Q&A. I'll be monitoring it throughout this presentation. Now, before I hand this over to Lauren and Todd, I just have a quick question for you all, and I hope you'll be able to fill that in the chat. What aspect of the industry do you work in? Please fill that in the chat. Let us know. Let us get a better understanding of where everyone's coming in from today. So I'm going to hand this off to Todd and Lauren. Todd and Lauren, please take it away.
Thanks so much, Kaylin. I hope I'm not interrupting Lauren. I think we agreed that I would go first.
You are correct.
Okay, good deal. Well, thank you all very much, as Kaylin said, for being here. Appreciate this a great deal. I really kind of see this today as being sort of a conversation as much as anything, although I realize to some degree you might be typing in your thoughts rather than speaking them. But we're really looking for whatever information folks who are newer to this industry would like to have us share or bring today. The really cool thing about metal and construction is it is such a huge and varied industry. There are so many different options, whether we're talking about actual metal buildings with metal framing and so forth, or if we're talking more about what we call the envelope or the skin on buildings. There are just a huge variety of ways in which metal is used in construction. And, we're seeing that growing every year, which is an exciting part of it as well. One of the things that I know an area where I work in a lot is what we call single skin roof and wall panels. So single skin refers to panels that are just what it sounds like. It's just a single thickness of metal. That compares to such things as insulated panels, which would have typically a polyiso or a urethane insulation core, and then a metal skin on either one side or oftentimes both sides. And then, of course, we also have what we call composite panels, both aluminum and sometimes steel, which has a hard plastic core with metal, either steel or aluminum laminated to both sides. One of the things when we're dealing with these sort of single skin and even these MCM, ACM panels, insulated panels, we are usually dealing with metal that has been pre-painted. And, based upon how new you are to the industry, that may or may not be a surprise to you. But a lot of folks oftentimes are surprised when they see metal building panel that has a colored finish on it of some sort, and they realize that that was actually painted before it was formed. And I know Lauren will be talking more about that, but that's to some degree, I always look at that as proof of the resilience and the durability of the coatings that we are using, that they can go through fabrication after they've already been applied. And usually this fabrication is either in the form of roll forming the panels, or some panels are also stamped panels. So they've been formed on stamping presses that may be up to 5, 6, 7, 800-ton presses. So again, pretty good proof of the resiliency of those coatings. Another area of metal and construction uses stone coatings. So there are both roof and wall panels that, rather than have a painted finish, they have a aggregate or stone coating on them. And you've seen this sometimes on wall panels. It's also done on roof panels. And it just gives another option for our industry and proof of the great variety of things that are available in the metal in construction industry. And then of course we also get into mill finish metals. For a number of years, copper and zinc have not been unusual. A lot of times you'll hear about a metal called galvalume, and folks will say, well, that's a galvalume roof. And usually what they're referring to when they say galvalume is actually clear coated or acrylic coated galvalume. So it has a clear finish on it that allows the metal to be fabricated, allows it to be transported without scratching the anti-corrosive coating on the steel. But yet that clear coating eventually kind of weathers away, and you are left with bare galvalume. And the galvalume, of course, gets you that bright, shiny finish. And then another area where we've seen growth recently in terms of metal panels actually has been the use of anodized aluminum. Anodized aluminum does not have a paint finish on it, but it does have basically the metal is taken through a chemical bath that builds up a patina on it, and they can actually lock color into that. What shall I call that? Anodization on there as well. They can lock color into it also. So just a ton of variety in terms of products. Metal Construction Association, MCA, of course, offers some great directories on their website of manufacturers and products that are available today. Another great organization in our industry is called the Metal Roofing Alliance, or Metal Roofing.com. Metal Roofing Alliance is more focused on steep slope metal roofing versus low slope metal roofing. But of course, that's another great thing about the variety that's available in metal today is especially on roof panels. You've got roof panels suitable for steep slope, which generally is referred to anything is referring to anything at a 312 or greater pitch. And also low slope. And for the low slope metal roofs, they can go down as low as a quarter in 12 pitch. So you think of the almost flat roofs on the big box department stores and things. Those are oftentimes a low slope, what we call mechanically seamed metal roof up there. And I'm just kind of riffing and free flowing here, but when it comes to these single skin roof panels, you've got a couple of different varieties available today. You've got one term you'll hear a lot is snap lock. Those are standing seam panels that literally get installed to the roof, and they are usually fastened using a hidden fastener of some sort, and then they literally snap together. Those contrast with what we call mechanical seam panels. Mechanical seam panels also get fastened to the roof, but then a seamer is run down the panel that actually crimps those seams for water tightness. And it is the mechanical seam panels that can be used on very low slope roofs. And then also another area of growth in terms of metal roofing has been press formed products. And sometimes we call these modular panels, is a term you might hear. But modular panels are basically interlocking metal shingles, if you will. And they come in a variety of different profiles. You can have metal shingles that look like wood shake or barrel tile or slate. Has been kind of an up and coming look in recent years with some of the design trends. Or they can just look like standard asphalt shingles too. And another area of growth, and Lauren will probably talk about this, but another big area of growth has been what we call print coats. It used to be if you put a metal panel on a building, that metal panel, you had your option. It had to be all green, it had to be all brown, it had to be all black or all gray or all white, whatever. And now we have a lot of available what we call print coats, where there might be as many as 4 or 5 different colors that are being printed onto the metal or painted onto the metal, so that you can get a great deal of variety and different designs and different looks on the panels as well. I'm just kind of looking here to see where everyone's coming from. So we've got folks from the metal building manufacturing end of things. If you are on the metal building end of things and you haven't already discovered it, there is also a great trade association for that end of our industry, which is called MBMA, Metal Building Manufacturers Association. They get involved with a lot of fairly technical things as far as code requirements and test standards for metal and construction, but that's a great industry as well. And I think their website is mbma.org, if I remember right. And I also alluded earlier to Metal Construction Association, which is metalconstruction.org. So Metal Construction Association works a lot with what we call single skin panels, but they also have councils that work with insulated panels and also composite panels. But a lot of their focus at MCA is on the technical and code development and test standard end of things. They also do some market development, but I mentioned Metal Roofing Alliance earlier, which is metalroofing.com, and that's an association that is entirely committed to market development. Um, Distribution channels on metal building materials can vary greatly. You will find a lot of times the manufacturers are quick to be involved working with contractors and designers and architects because they want to make sure that their products are used properly and specified properly. So in many cases, sales of these products do sometimes happen direct from the manufacturer. In other cases, there may be a wholesaler or a distributor involved. And in other cases, if you're a contractor, the manufacturer may leave it up to you. Would you rather buy direct from us, realizing that that may mean, stuff is going to be shipped direct to your job sites and you're going to have unloading equipment, or would you rather work through a distributor who would be working with you more locally to help with unloading and delivery at job sites and so forth? One of the areas of growth also that I think we're seeing in metal and construction has been something that the industry has focused on for a lot of years, which is residential metal roofing. And that's an area that has grown significantly in market share over about the last 20 years. It's gone from maybe about a 2 or 3% share as far as the share of metal in residential roofing to someplace up in the mid-teens probably today. So that has grown dramatically. And that has created a need for more contractors, more installers. One of the things you will hear sometimes about is the lack of skilled tradespeople. And, let's face it, that's not a metal and construction problem. That's a construction industry problem. But what we have found is that many of the folks who are on the supply end of metal building materials have really strong, aggressive training programs. So if you're getting involved with these products, and you are finding a lack of skilled workers, go to your manufacturers and see what kind of training programs they offer, either at their facility or sometimes on job sites. We have also seen the NRCA, National Roofing Contractors Association, has developed their pro certification testing program, which has tests in place to verify the skill level of someone who might be an installer of standing seam metal roofing or modular panel metal roofing also. Well, I have blathered on a little bit, and I know Lauren's kind of itching to say a few things, so I'm going to pass it over to you, Lauren, and I imagine we'll go back and forth maybe here a couple of times.
Sure, that's totally fine. So I do not have 40 years of industry experience like Todd does. It definitely proves a point
It
of
just
how
means I'm old.
knowledgeable.
That's the point it
No,
proves.
no, you just speak so knowledgeably to absolutely everything. So I'm excited to be here to learn from you as well, which is really nice. But I have been in the coil coatings industry for 3 years now. I started with Sherwin in 2019 and came over to the coil division in 2021. So I still get wild questions every single week that I do not know the answer to. So if there's a question in the chat box that I can't answer, I will find out the answer and get back. But what really Todd set me up great for is the difference in coil is everything is pre-painted. So the industries that I was in before, GI and industrial wood, those all were post-painted. And the difference here with pre-paint is that it is a continuous painting line. It's like 72 inches wide, and it goes through, it's like 700 to 800 feet per minute. So the coatings are cured in anywhere from 15 to 45 seconds. So it handles a lot of bottlenecks for manufacturers to get things pre-painted rather than post-painted. Also, but Todd mentioned that things are then formed out of the pre-painted sheets of metal. And so this really lends into the paint needing to be flexible. That way it can be, bent and formed and rolled into panels or stamped into cool metal roofing sheets like Todd does. But also needs to have the industry standards for warranties, weathering, really durable products. So we normally classify the kinds of coatings in the coil world by their resin system. So 3 popular ones are SMPs, PVDFs, and FEEVs. So the resin is really what gives it durability, its flexibility, adhesion, gloss, hardness, things like that. So an SMPs is silicone modified polyester. These are harder technologies, and they have good hiding of the substrate. They're a lower cost versus the PVDF. And these are mainly used in agricultural, residential end uses like that. A PVDF and a FEEV, they both are fluorocarbon bonds, and those are one of the strongest bonds in the chemical industry. And so these have really good weathering, outstanding color stability. The difference between a FEEV and a PVDF is FEEVs are normally higher gloss. The resin itself is clear, so it lends into brighter, more vibrant color spaces, but both are in line with weathering and warranty. So Todd, I do have a question for you on your products. How did you pick, you have PVDF on your products, how did you pick that coating system?
We kind of morphed into it actually. So initially, back before the PVDF coatings and the fluoropolymers were really, I guess I'd say, commercially available. I know that they have history going back to the 60s and maybe even the 50s, but we kind of saw their commercialization in the late 80s, early 90s in our industry, and we were using a water-based acrylic prior to that, which really we had pretty good success with. It had good pigmentation, which is always part of the performance of a good paint system. But at some point that resin would break down and we'd get chalking and so forth. So really, it was on the advice of our paint supplier at the time, who was a predecessor of Sherwin-Williams before they entered the coil coatings industry. But it was really on their advice. It was Lilly at the time, and it was on their advice and counsel that we went into the PVDFs. And one of the things that I really think hallmarks our industry is just a great upstream supply chain of folks who are always there to help and to make recommendations and to help kind of guide you along the way. And I think that flows even down to the contractor level, certainly through the design level as well, that you always got someone willing to help you and provide you some wise advice.
Definitely. I think, and you spoke to it on the metal roofing market as a whole, that area definitely is growing. We are working on our end to grow the market for everyone. But that metal roofing alone has the biggest area for growth. And as people, decide to put products on their homes and buildings that are going to last 40, 50, 60 years, it's proven a change of, from just fast, cheap products into long lasting, more sustainable products as well.
No doubt about it. That's been a strong area of growth. And you're right. One of the things that is driving that is folks looking for more sustainable, more green sort of materials.
So coming from the side of the industry that is dealing with events and everything else, I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of the growth that you guys see with regards to the codes and testing that are coming out. Are you seeing a lot more of that lately?
Um,
Or
certainly,
a better way to phrase that is how that's going to affect the application of metal roofing and metal products in the future.
I think one of the big driving factors on that is changing weather patterns. And so, we are seeing more and more development of codes like the fortified roofing standards, of course, some other HVAC and wind zone areas. And, a lot of that's being driven again by, what we're seeing as changing weather patterns. And I know that that is something that, Kalen is looking into is, how can we bring that information even to MetalCon, because MetalCon is a great resource for people to go to learn and attend seminars and sessions and learn more about the industry and learn more about the state of the art things that are going on. Another thing that's really becoming a driving factor right now is the fires on the West Coast. It seemed to really happen with that Paradise fire a number of years ago. And of course, we've had the Hawaii fire and some other really significant, devastating fires in recent years. And so what we're seeing that doing is, it always used to be that, okay, you're in a fire prone area. People would talk about, well, I'll put a metal roof on. Well, now they're wanting to skin the whole building in metal, and for good reason. And then, of course, you're also looking at, buildings have vents in them. So how do you make sure that those vents don't suck in flying embers and bring a fire inside of a structure? So it's a lot of complex stuff being looked at right now. But I do think one of the big driving factors from my perspective has been changing weather patterns. You know, one other thing I wanted to say here, as far as resources that are out there, you know, MetalCut, of course, we're all strong believers in that, but another great resource is these online sessions that MetalCon is arranging, and those are done jointly with Metal Construction Association. But if you just go back through the playlists or whatever on YouTube and look at all of them over the years, you realize there's a wealth of information that has been brought forth in these various online sessions and webinars. So I encourage folks to, you know, check those out if you're looking for education in our industry. And I know that Kaylin has always loved to have ideas that if you're like, hey, I wish you'd do something on this, just let Kaylin know. And I'm sure we'll be doing something on that topic shortly thereafter.
Absolutely, absolutely, Todd.
Another area I guess I'll speak to that has been a good area of growth in recent years, and I alluded to it earlier, but has been the ACM and MCM panels. So ACM stands for aluminum composite material, and MCM stands for metal composite material. So ACM typically is referring to aluminum skin on top of a hard plastic. I think it's polyethylene based inner core, and that inner core is available in a variety of thicknesses that then determines the strength of the panel. MCM is the same basic thing, except it's typically going to be a steel skin on the panels rather than aluminum. But, you know, we've seen so much growth with these. And the cool thing about ACM and MCM is how they can be fabricated. So basically, it's made in big sheets. And then you've got ACM and MCM fabricators scattered across the country who route those and shape them. And they can route out the backside of it so that you can curve those panels. And a lot of buildings that you see, high rises anymore, that you may think, well, that's got to be a concrete panel on there because you see this real nice, smooth, perfect panel. Well, actually, you get closer, you discover it is ACM or MCM. And that's just been a real nice, strong growth area of our industry. And I think architects have taken well to it also. And one of the things that I think there's an opportunity out there, if there's anyone on here who's just looking for opportunities, is bringing those ACM and MCM panels into the residential market. I think a lot of what we're seeing with some of the more contemporary, sleek home designs that are coming out today, ACM and MCM panels lend themselves extremely well to those. So lots of great opportunities out there for someone who may be new to this industry and kind of trying to figure out what their niche can be. And I think it's like anything, if you get in on the ground floor or the early stages of something, you're going to be the one who's probably going to reap the most benefits and be able to kind of carve your own path and make the industry that way.
Todd, I have another question for you. As the metal industry continues to grow, what is one thing that you would like to see or you're most excited about of using pre-painted metal panels, bare metal panels, everything?
And that's a big question, but I love it. I do think we're going to continue to see more of these print coats, and even situations where folks are even printing onto metal. I think that really opens up a lot of doors for our industry. I mean, you and I both know from a manufacturing standpoint, those things are not done easily. There's a lot of technology and a lot of things involved in doing those coatings, but I definitely think those are coatings that are going to help drive and propel our industry forward. Because one of the things that I think we're going to see in general in manufacturing is more of a trend almost toward, and this makes my production guys shudder when I say it, but is more of a trend toward bespoke manufacturing. So that if a customer dreams of something, our industry is going to be able to provide it. And I know that one of the things our company had ventured into a number of years ago was powder coating of the PVDF colors. And while Sherwin's is our supplier for that. But that allows us to do custom colors. When we first started doing that, I thought, oh, there aren't going to be many people want to pay extra to get a custom color because there are already so many colors available. But the reality is that is a significant part of our growing part of our business. And I think it'll continue to be because, again, this whole idea of bespoke manufacturing, doing very, very custom things. I guess another thing I'd really like to see, Lauren, is more involvement from contractors and architects, both in our industry. Metal Construction Association, Metal Roofing Alliance, MBMA, all have opportunities for contractors and architects to be involved in what they're doing. And I think a lot of times that's where the best ideas can come from, is those who are on the ground doing things. One of the things I tell our team a lot is, as a manufacturer of building materials, we don't really sell anything. It's the contractors and architects out there who sell our products. And so we really, as an industry, will benefit when we get more contractors and architects actively involved in the industry.
Totally. I think, we have a mindset where if an architect can think of a coating or a color, or we have really cool color shifting coatings,
Oh, yeah.
that really play into architects really nicely. But if an architect can think of something, we want to be able to make it for them. But there is nothing that replaces the voice of the customer. So we absolutely try to get involved with the end users, the contractors, homeowners, things like that, that really we can find out. But absolutely, people are wanting custom everything. If you knew how many different whites that we had, you would think that white is white and that is the end of it. But no, people are absolutely wanting custom. They're wanting cool finishes. They're wanting different kinds of textures, leaning into embossing panels, things like that. It's really cool to see where the industry is going. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it always kind of gives my manufacturing guys the heebie-jeebies when I talk too much about this type of thing, because from a manufacturing standpoint, you'd all like to kind of be like Henry Ford. Yeah, you got one color, it's black. But the reality is that today's consumer just increasingly realizes that, hey, the technology exists for me to get exactly what I want. I mean, I can go and order a pair of jeans that are exactly contoured to fit my fat behind. But, and so they get so accustomed to having everything be very custom that, gosh, the buildings, that's where we live. That's where we spend all of our time. Why would I not want that building to be exactly what I want it to be if it possibly can be? And the technology is increasingly allowing us to do those things.
And it is readily available on the internet. If you see something, you can screenshot it, send it to your contractor, say, this is what I want. But people are more educated on what's going on in their buildings too. So people kind of come in knowing exactly what they want. Like, they know they want a print or things like that. So it is definitely a different changing clientele as well. But it'll only continue to grow the market for the prints. Those are wild. As a coating manufacturer, you have to make sure that each layer marries and works together nicely. So that has continued to change as well. I actually have a new print rolling on Monday that I'm going to the trial for. So that'll be really interesting. Some new colorways, and we have a whole trend marketing department that they look like 5 to 7 years out on what colors will be really popular. Try to always keep on the cutting edge of it. Now, I think I did hear that black is trending down a little bit on the popularity. It's not going anywhere, but people are more interested into back into the warmer colors, the beiges, the taupes, the bronzes. So that's interesting to see as the trend changes, and it goes across the board. So textures, glosses, prints, all of those colorways are changing a little bit within the trend.
Yeah. Yeah, that is always interesting too. And of course, some of those trends you can kind of predict a little bit. You watch HGTV and see what Chip and Joanna are doing this month, and yeah, you're probably going to get requests for that next month. But yeah, it's we have definitely noticed that not quite as many requests for grays. We haven't, or for black. We haven't seen a lot of return to the rich browns, but we have seen a lot of requests for silvers and grays and some of those more muted colors as well. But yeah, it all runs in trends, that's for sure.
It definitely does. Life cycles in and out.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, another organization I wanted to give a shout out to too is National Coil Coating Association, NCCA, which of course Sherwin-Williams is a big part of, as are other companies that provide coatings and also the companies that actually apply the coatings. But they have, I think they call it a toolbox on their website, which I believe is ncca.org, and that has some pretty good training classes and things in it as well. Speaking of that, and Lauren alluded to it earlier too, a lot of manufacturers in our industry now have visualizer software on their websites, so that a contractor or even a property owner can go in and upload a photo of a building and then drop in different profiles and different colors of roof or wall panels on it. Metal Roofing Alliance has one of those on their website as well. So lots of great tools out there to explore and see, gee whiz, what will metal do to my building? Another area that, as an industry we've had to address has been more working with homeowners associations, HOAs, and ARBs, architectural review boards. And, we generally as an industry have pretty good success getting our products accepted into communities that maybe in the past have had very specific covenants against metal. Once you start to talk to them about what today's metal options are and their durability and the variety of designs that are available, then they start to say, well, gee whiz, I guess metal is a way to enhance the value of our properties, the beauty of our properties, and just their sustainability and resilience. So if you ever, again, our audience comes from a wide group, but if you ever run into an HOA or ARB that is struggling with that decision, there are lots of industry resources. Go back to your manufacturer, go back to any of the trade associations we've talked about here today. And they can certainly make someone available to meet with the powers that be and help them see what metal really is all about today.
I was going to ask, what do you hear, customer wise around the hesitations about using metal?
That's a really good question. It has changed dramatically over my years in the industry. A lot of the old myths that people worried about, such as would it attract lightning, or is it going to be real noisy when it rains, or things like that. I don't get asked those too much anymore at all. Anymore, a lot of the questions do tend to be, well, just as you did, Lauren, help me understand the various coatings, help me understand what their life expectancies are. And then, of course, that also leads into, well, let's talk about the looks. What's available here as far as colors and so forth. I think another area that has been a strong area of interest has been the integration of solar into roof panels in particular. How can I attach solar panels or increasingly on the metal shingle side of things, we're seeing more integrated solar where solar shingles are being integrated into a metal shingle roof. And so there are lots of opportunities there, and that just kind of is following the trend of construction in general, looking for more green options. And can a roof be more than a roof? Can a roof produce energy? Can a roof reflect heat and help keep my building naturally cooler? Which of course Sherwin and other companies have led the way in terms of the use of reflective pigments, so that we can get some decent heat reflection even out of dark colors if that's what someone wants.
I think there was a question in the chat.
Any question? Oh, clarify minimum amounts required for custom colors, coil prints. So that's going to vary a little bit based upon the manufacturer you're working with. We definitely have seen a trend in recent years from the companies that paint metal to be willing to do smaller runs. It used to be on the steel side of things, their preference would have been to paint a whole truckload, which is 40,000 pounds, all the same color in steel. And they really wanted typically 20,000 pound runs on aluminum. But what we're seeing anymore is more and more interest in the part of the coil coating companies to do smaller runs. I know that our company generally says, if it's a 200 square project, a custom color probably is not going to be an issue at all. But I had a job last week that was about a 50 square job, and we were able to quote a custom color to them. Now, that said, I guess it was Craig's question there, but Craig was asking about the print coats. Print coats are a little bit different beast. It's a little bit more involved in designing and developing a successful print coat. There's a little bit of upfront cost in doing that because you're going to have a customized print roll or perhaps print rolls to achieve what you want to achieve. I would say that smaller runs would still be possible on a print coat, but there is going to be, a certain set fee you're going to have to pay just for the development of the print pattern itself and the equipment necessary to apply that print pattern. And I know also with our powder coat that I mentioned, which I actually misspoke, we're actually using FEVE powder now, not PVDF, but that allows us to do custom colors in any quantity, basically. So I think the big thing there is work with your manufacturer, find out what their particular requirements are. But I do think a general industry rule is a couple hundred squares, you should be able to get a custom color. And if you're willing to pay an upcharge, you can probably get it for less, get a custom color in smaller quantities as well.
And just like we are integrating more of the voice of the customer and leaning more towards more custom things, the coders are hearing the same thing too. So they're kind of changing their business model a little bit and intending to smaller runs a little bit more frequently.
And to some degree, everything at some point does come at a cost also, or is available at a cost as well. So good points. Someone, Darren Austin asked, what trends are you seeing with sustainable construction and how is that impacting the metal building industry? I think the trend we're seeing is exactly that. Everyone wants buildings that have more green benefit to them. Everyone wants buildings that are going to be more resilient in extreme weather patterns. I think at some point there's only so far you can go in those areas, but I still think metal has a great story to tell. And sometimes metal gets a little bit of a bum rap because of what was always perceived as high embodied energy and carbon footprint of producing the metal itself. But for many years now, most of the aluminum you buy was 95% recycled content, much less carbon and energy go into producing metal from recycled content than it does from producing metal from iron ore or from bauxite in the case of aluminum. We also have seen the proliferation of more and more mini mills for steel mills in the United States. And these mini mills are producing steel from recycled content. So used to be with the old blast furnace steel mills, you didn't get a whole lot of recycled content being used. It mostly was making it from iron ore. But with the mini mills, it's a lot of recycled content. There are some mills out there where their recycled content on steel is very similar to where it is on aluminum, around 95 to 98%. So, I think that's been a real trend also in terms of sustainable and green design. I don't know, Lauren, if you have anything to throw in on that topic.
Yeah, just coil coating lines in general. Their VOCs are recaptured and
Good
they
point.
fuel the oven. Things like that. They save energy. The paint waste is minimized. So just as a whole, sustainability is really a focus for us at Sherwin. We have a whole team that works on it. It's important now, and it'll continue to be important as things change. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see, where things go forward.
I think an area of growth for our industry actually doesn't have anything to do with metal at all, and it has to do with packaging and how these products are packaged. Historically, metal building materials have been pretty packaging intensive. Either wooden crates or a lot of corrugated and plastic films and interleaving papers. I think that's an area that we're going to see some improvements. I know that our company is frequently reaching out to various packaging suppliers saying, hey, we got to figure something else out because we're simply using far too much corrugated. And yes, the corrugated is recyclable, but for the most part on job sites, it just doesn't happen that way. Guys finish up a job and they're stuck with a lot of corrugated or a lot of wood, and it goes to the landfill or in some cases gets incinerated. And very rarely is it getting recycled. So I think that's an area of growth for our industry is to figure out how to make our packaging more sustainable, more green.
That's a great point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely becoming more and more of an issue. I know that we're thinking about, and I'm sure others are as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not seeing any other questions here. If you have another question, feel free to type it in real quick. I'm not sure. Make sure we haven't missed any. I don't think we have. I think this has been great. And again, thank you all for attending. Lauren, go ahead and why don't you tell folks how they can get a hold of you?
Oh yeah. You can reach me, reach out on LinkedIn. My email is lauren.rubino@sherwin.com. If any questions, I can always, put them into the right person if I don't know it. But we love hearing the voice of the customer. So suggestions, comments, hopes, dreams, wishes, wants, anything.
Good stuff. And folks can reach me pretty easily too. LinkedIn is a great way to contact me. And if you connect with me on LinkedIn, just look for Todd Miller Metal Roofing. You'll find me. If you want to talk, I can send you my Calendly link so you can book a time that's convenient for you for us to talk. I've also got an educational website at Todd, or it's asktoddmiller.com. So you can email me at todd@asktoddmiller.com, and always happy to take a look at plans or drawings or review projects and make sure that everything that's being done it makes a lot of sense. Thermal dynamics have been a big subject for our industry, and making sure we don't set up buildings for condensation. Some folks worry that metal, because you'll see condensation on metal and you think metal sweats or something. It doesn't, but when warm, moist air hits a cold surface, it's going to condense. And so that's a topic that I know our industry talks a lot about, and we want to make sure that people design and build their buildings in ways so that that's not a problem. But always happy to address any questions or review building plans and things and provide input.
All right. Well, Lauren and Todd, thank you so much. MetalCon and MCA are so happy to do these future leader webinars. We have plenty recorded online, and this one is also recorded and will be available soon. As Caitlin said, keep an eye out in the future for more webinars. Thank you both again for hosting this panel, and thank you to everyone who attended.
Thanks so much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
You too.